After this December 25th, this Christmas Day, Soul releases to the public on Disney Plus. I've gotten to see the film early. I loved it. I'll have a full review up in the card above, but today we're going to be going over and diving into my ranking of every single Pixar film from worst to best. There are 23 Pixar films to discuss here. We're going to have a blast doing it, so make sure to know that this is my wholeheartedly opinion, so make sure to comment down below and let me know your guys' thoughts. What is your ranking of every Pixar film? I want to hear about it down below in the comment section, as well as hit that like and subscribe button so we can keep talking movies over here on a daily basis. God, I'm so excited to do this ranking, so let's get to it. Down at my number 23 is probably going to be the one that everyone kind of agrees with, and that is Cars 2. Cars 2 just feels like a film that you just never want to rewatch. It's one that you put in the first time, you're like, this ain't totally bad, but it's also not great. And it's one of those ones that doesn't feel like a true Pixar gem. It feels like something that maybe should have just gone directly to TV. And when I look at a film like Cars 2, I just look and it's like they really pushed Tow Mater into the eye. And you know, I like the Mater character, but more as a supporting character. I think what really happens about this film, though, is that it just feels a mess of everything that's kind of come together. There's some spy themes in here, there's still a race going on, and it just doesn't feel like what the first Cars was so grounded in, really much had this underdog feel to it. And I wish that this film would have carried that same layer and message to it, but instead it feels like this was more of a commercial for your next toy to buy for your kid. Coming down at my number 22 is going to be Cars 3. Again, this is one that I've only seen twice, and I just don't really ever care to rewatch it. In fact, it's the only Pixar film I do not own on Blu-ray. And in fact, it's just because I refuse to spend more than $5 on this film. I want to own it so I can have my whole OCD thing. I even own Cars 2 because I got it for like $5, but Cars 3, there's something about it that, again, it's not memorable. I like the element between Cruz Ramirez and Lightning McQueen, but again, it steers so far away from what that first film was so important with, and especially with the Route 66 game really kind of taking a back turner. They're not even really in the film. They're not that memorable. I like the story overall in this one, and I think it's cute. I think it's funny at times, and I think the animation is superb. But it's, again, one that I just don't care to rewatch. When it comes down to my ranking, that's what it's going to come down to. And coming down at my number 21 is going to be Brave. Now, in fact, I enjoy Brave. I think it's fun. But for me, this feels like a generic 2000s Disney animated film that would have came out around the likes of Chicken Little, Home on the Range. Brave is fun. And there's elements to it that I think are a little bit too predictable, and again, something that we've seen so many times before, but I really, really love the magic elements, the mythology elements, and everything of that nature. I think those are the things that truly make this film work in other lights. Overall, I really did dig Merida's character. I just wanted more from the film itself. And coming down at my number 20 is going to be The Good Dinosaur. Now, this film has excellent animation. I mean, honestly, at the time of all these new Pixar films coming out, this was the best animated film. It was absolutely just incredible to see how they were able to animate it, even better than Inside Out that year, which again was eye-popping and jarring, but the attention to detail in The Good Dinosaur was something so unique to itself, and that now we've seen films like Toy Story 4, Soul, and even COCO really much go forward and using inside the technology, and again, it's quite altering, like life-changing when you see that, and it's so unique. Now, when it comes to The Good Dinosaur, while it has fantastic animation and it has some sweet moments to it, it's a movie that, again, you know, it's not one of the ones that I ever want to put in. But you know, if my girlfriend's like, hey, can we watch The Good Dinosaur? I'm like, sure, let's watch The Good Dinosaur. You know, I never have that inkling to really jump into this film and rewatch it every single day or year. And you know, there's higher up Pixar films. This isn't a bad one, this is a good one, but it could have been better. Coming down to my number 19 is going to be Cars. Now, again, I've talked about this one. I think this one is a really good animated film. It's a little bit kiddie at times, but still, even though I always say that Pixar makes films for adults that kids can enjoy, I think Cars is more of the film that kids can enjoy and adults won't fall asleep in. I say that because, again, their humor is there. There are fun elements for adults and kids to kind of jump inside this film, and I do overall really enjoy the message for this one. I think the message inside Cars is actually very important for many different viewers. Still, I digress. Cars is a fun movie. That's all it really is for me. It's funny, it's cute, it's whatever it is, but it's not one that, again, I push myself to want to go watch by myself. all over again. And coming down at my number 18 is going to be Finding Dory, which is funny. I have a love-hate relationship with this film. Like, there are times where, like, I actually really like thinking about this or maybe revisiting certain scenes in this film. But then when it gets down to that third act, which is absolutely bonkers and kind of weird, like with the whole driving the car and stuff like that, it kind of just deterred away from what the first Finding Nemo was, which was pretty grounded. You know, it gets a little bit bombastic when he gets inside the pelican's mouth, but still, you know, there's a certain layer that you can believe in that. And I enjoy Finding Dory. I think the character of Dory, I liked seeing where her character went. And in fact, for being a side character, her story overall really worked. The animation's great, it's funny, and Hank is one of my favorite sidekicks to a Pixar film. I think he's so freaking cool. In the way that they animated him, the way that they got Ed to voice him, it was really all, in general, awesome. Just wanted more from Finding Dory, and every single time I've watched it, I always leave with this not fulfilled feeling that I really wanted just more. And there are certain supporting characters in here that I feel like should have popped in for this adventure. Coming down to my number 17 is going to be Monsters University. I really enjoy this one, and I found this to kind of be a little bit of a fun little throwback to the old college party movies, and it pretty much is. I think the one thing missing from this film is actually the emotion that typically most Pixar films have, especially even the first Monsters Inc. And I will say it in every single video I ever talk about Monsters University is this: I cannot believe they didn't have, at the very end of the film, them talking to Boo before she goes to college, and them telling her story, their story about college, because she's afraid to go to college. That would have been, everyone would have been in tears. It would have been, literally, it would have elevated this film like to that next step, that next level, and probably would have pushed this up even on the ranking. But still, that's just what I wanted to see. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people that also wanted to see it. But what it comes down to is Monsters University is a fun time. It's one that really puts a big smile on your face. There's constant laughs. There's constant new characters that are actually really fun to really jive around with. And of course, seeing Mike and Sully and their really much their origin story of becoming best friends is really sweet. Coming down at my number 16, pretty much everything here and up I thoroughly enjoyed, to maybe even loving. And my number 16 is A Bug's Life. Now, Bug's Life is a film that kind of came out at a weird time. It came out right after the masterpiece that is Toy Story, and it's a very fun film. It's one of the ones that I think actually goes very underrated when people talk about Pixar films. The characters are super memorable. The villain Hopper is excellent in here as well, and very intimidating and scary. The animation's pretty good for an older film as well. Leading into all of this, I just think the film is very intelligent with the way that it's kind of, and super clever by the way that it tells some of the story elements, and again, the way that they tackle into this world building with the bugs. I mean, God forbid you look at all the characters in here: Dot, Flick, Heimlich, Hopper, and so many more that can bring countless memories to you and your family. Bug's Life is one film that you should be remembered, and I think when you go back and actually watch this recently, it gets way better. Coming down at my number 15 is going to be Incredibles 2, which at the first time of viewing this film, I said, oh god, this might actually be better than the first one. In fact, I actually think it's pretty on par with the first one, but the first one kind of wins over nostalgic for me, and also because I thoroughly pretty much enjoy the villain a little bit more in the first one as well. I think the second one's a little bit too predictable when it comes down to a villain and who it actually is, but when it comes down to The Incredibles 2, it's so fast-paced, it's so briskly paced, it moves super fast, and the animation is excellent. The villain in here is okay, but the animation around him and the certain scene with Elastigirl, whew, count me in. I love that scene, and everything with Jack. I just love it. It puts a big smile on my face every time I watch it. Sometimes I count myself just watching those scenes on repeat. The Incredibles 2 is a film that puts a big smile on my face. It reminds me of why I love The Incredibles so much, and I really do hope that we get a third one so that we can round out this great trilogy. Coming down at my number 14 is the Pixar film that came out earlier this year, Onward. I've seen this film about 6 times since it's come out, and I'll probably end up watching it more. I love this film. I think everything here and up is just touching and beautiful, and honestly a Pixar gem. Well, that's not to say the last two weren't, but truly it's something. And I think Onward really just falters in one little category. I think there's a little bit of an off-heedle that it feels a little bit too short, and I think they could have gone maybe a little bit longer with the story, because it does dive into a lot of world building, which is all great. But I wanted that emotion to keep going. I feel like the brother relationship in here is so important, and especially everything about them trying to bring back their dead father can really touch a lot of different hearts and a lot of different people who've maybe lost a family member or in general a parent at such a young age. I think that's what Onward touches on in such an important way, is that it's the same time of it's being funny, it's very emotional. It tells a great message and it has a fantastic world that I actually think should be fleshed out more in a Disney Plus series. I think that would do superb So count me in. Please do it, Disney. Coming down on my number 13 is Up, which really much, this is so high because of that opening scene and the score. The opening scene is still one of the most heart-shattering, heartbreaking moments that I've ever seen in film, but it's one that I will never forget. I love, love, love Up until the third act. I don't like the villain that much in here, and I think some of the dogs are a little bit too annoying, but it's still cute. It's still super fun, and it's a film that I consistently love coming back to because of the characters Doug, Kevin, Russell, and Carl. I think they're all so memorable, and I think this adventure is memorable because adventure is out there. It's that sweetness that really means a lot to me when it comes to Up. I very much enjoy this film. I know that I have some issues towards the end of this film, but even with that said, I think the score, I think the characters, and I think that opening scene is just so tied and knitted in so well together that it's hard not to root for this film being in the middle of this list. Coming down at my number 12 is going to be WALL-E. Now, I like WALL-E. I think WALL-E is actually very superb and probably the most adultly made Pixar film for a while. I think this actually might be even the biggest cinephile film. When cinephiles love watching movies, WALL-E's kind of one of those. The first half of this film is pretty much a silent film, just with WALL-E and Eva, and it's adorable. And then they go into space and you get a lot of the different kind of robots in there, and that's kind of where the kids stuff starts picking into there. The animation still holds up today. It's absolutely like just gorgeous. I don't even know how they do it. I'm just like, wow. It's a film that consistently keeps moving, and it's one that finds sweet moments in between. And I love watching WALL-E and Eva's relationship, and especially certain moments in particular outside in space are some of the most memorable moments I've ever seen for an animated film, or in particular Disney and Pixar. Something to give a major shout out to, because I think that is very hard to animate. It's very hard to bring that emotion to life with characters that don't really even talk. And while the giant humans, you know, I think it's a little bit too much, I get where they were going with it. I mean, in fact, maybe our world's already starting to become like that with everything going on from this. And coming down at my number 11, we got Inside Out. Now, this actually used to be like top 5 Pixar films for me. And in fact, I still think it's great. I think 11 and up are pretty much perfect films. I really have no issues with this one. Why did Inside Out move down, though? It's because I saw Soul, and Soul made this film look like the prototype for what it is. But for me, what I love about Inside Out, and what's something I very much realized within it, is that I felt like there wasn't like a big takeaway for a message now. Especially after watching Soul, I feel like Soul has the bigger prototype. Inside Out's just a brilliant world. It's one that is so much fun and so clever, and the humor is like so knitted throughout that in such a perfect manner. I laugh consistently throughout this film. I love the characters in here. I love the emotions, and Bing Bong, God, one of the most emotional elements in any sort of Pixar film ever. It's a film that made me think back to my childhood and my imaginary friends and my life, and you know, some of the smaller moments that you never really, you know, maybe get tucked away inside your childhood memory. I love what Inside Out is able to touch into that. And I think it's a very mature film that families can watch, but adults will get a lot more from. Definitely reminisce about a lot of different memories. Inside Out's still a very clever film. It's just one that faltered a little bit down on this list. And coming down at my number 10 is going to be Monsters, Inc. Now, I adore this film to pieces. It's emotional. It's hilarious. I love this world with all the different unique monsters that come about. And it's because we scare to care, you know? It's just so awesome, and I actually am surprised. I know we're getting a sequel called Monsters at Work on Disney+. I wonder when that is coming out. I really want to see where that can go, because I think there is still a lot of stuff to invest and kind of dive into here. But what I love about this is how it changes your personality. It teaches you not to be afraid of the monsters in the closet or under your bed, but also it teaches you to not judge a book by its cover. Boo doesn't judge Sully because he's a scary furry monster, and Sully understands that humans aren't that bad. I love what Monsters, Inc. does, and it's just so adorable, and I just could watch this film almost every other day. And coming down at my number 9, it's gonna be COCO. One of the most creative and imaginative worlds, and I'd probably still stick to this as a world-building thing. This is the best Pixar has ever done with a brand new world. I loved COCO. The animation is absolutely delightful, and it's a film that I wasn't that excited for until the reviews started popping out. I said, this seems pretty interesting. Day of the Dead Pixar film, well, it seems a little bit weird, but now I'm so hooked in this. I'm so excited to see what they do next. Maybe they do a sequel, maybe they do a show, I don't know, but I love COCO. It's emotional. It has fantastic music that consistently paces the film so brilliantly, and I love the characters. I love the messages. I think this film's perfect. Everything in Up is perfect. I love COCO, and I'm sure many of you guys do as well. Before we get to my top 8, guys, make sure to comment down below and let me know again what is your ranking of all the sort of Pixar films. If you haven't seen Soul yet, that's okay. Save this video, watch it all the way through, and then come back and re-rank them down below in the comment section as well, guys. Hit that like and subscribe button so we can keep talking movies over here on a daily basis. Head on over to Sandwich on Films on how to see films early, and of course, it's a big thing to you guys and a big thing to my Patreon supporters, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. Down at my number 8 is going to be Toy Story 4. Now, if it was my personal opinion, all the Toy Story films would be number 1, but since it's a Pixar ranking list, I gotta keep it open a little bit, keep it open-minded, not just be nostalgia. I love Toy Story 4, and even if you take my nostalgia wave, even if I wasn't the biggest Toy Story fan, I would still love this film. I think this film is actually really smart in the way that it touches on the themes of discovery. You know, Woody is at a different part of his life where he thought he was meant to do one thing, and now that time has passed, and now he's on to the next part of his chapter, and I think we all kind of get into there. And it's so funny because every Toy Story film, Toy Story is the biggest part of my life. Spoiler alert, that's probably going to spoil a lot of my ranking, but if you're not new to my channel, you understand. You know how much I love Toy Story. If you're new, then that's a brand new thing. But the thing about Toy Story 4 is that in every single Toy Story film, they've come to my life when I really needed them. Toy Story 4, showed me something that I really needed to see in that point of life. And I love the theme of discovery that this film in particular really touches on. Buzz gets it, Bo Peep gets it, Woody gets it, and it's very unique to say the least. And the brand new supporting characters in here, Duke Kaboom, Ducky and Bunny, they're all very memorable. It's characters like this that keep this movie consistently going. The animation's great. It's a very much smaller film than I would say even the third one, but it's one that I truly need, and it's not one that I thought I was going to need. I was very worried going into this film. I literally sat there going, please don't ruin Toy Story, please don't ruin Toy Story, and they didn't, and I loved it every single bit. And Forky, I'm trash. Coming down at my number 7 is the latest Pixar film, Soul. Now, I have a full review for you guys to discuss this one, but I found this film, I walked out in tears. I found it to be hilarious. I found it to be awe-inspiring and very much attacking me on a personal level. Very much so, because a lot of the elements in here put a whole new perspective on life for me. I expected a little bit of elements for that, but I didn't expect so many. I loved Soul from here to here. I loved it all to pieces. I loved the characters. I loved the world, the Soul world, the animation, the way that they brought New York City to life, and the way that they kind of touch into certain elements that maybe really detail in the stuff that we really think about on a daily basis. What happens when you meditate? Do you go to the Soul world? What happens when someone feels lost? What happens to them? I love this film, and it's one that I'm trying not to touch on too many spoilers just in case you catch this before the film comes out, but it's one that I hope you guys do really check out and give the time to, because the writing directing here is probably some of the best that Pixar has done in a while. Coming down to my number 6 is going to be Ratatouille. I found this film to be completely underrated. When people talk about their favorite Pixar films, it's never Ratatouille. I've maybe heard 1 or 2 people say that, and that's my sister and one of my other friends. That's it. Ratatouille is a pure masterpiece. It's Brad Bird at his finest. I love the animation here. I love Remy, and the fact is, this film is very much more for adults, but I think there are some kid humor in there that kids can enjoy it. I think this movie details in the lives and really much the spanning of, what is your calling to life. And I love how Remy is able to really find his calling and really further that out and really not let anyone attack you. If you have a dream, you set out to do it. Ratatouille just puts a big smile on my face, and I love consistently rewatching this every single year. Coming down to my number 5 is going to be Toy Story 3, the finale to the trilogy, which I always say Toy Story 4 is an epilogue to a great trilogy, and the epilogue is fantastic as well. Toy Story 3 is just so great. It should have won Best Picture that year. The animation, again, every animated film in here is just beautiful. But it's the script that truly won me over in this. The way that they fractured it and framed it as a prison break film is hilarious. Lotso is the best villain that we've ever gotten in any Pixar film, I would really go out and say. I think he's very much like humanized towards the middle of this film, and it has some of the most, bawling moments. The last moment between Andy, Woody, and the toys, oh my god, it just ripped my heart right out, but it was adorable. And I love this film. I could consistently watch this, every single Toy Story film for every single day. Plus the opening of this film, my god, it's just perfect. Coming down at my number 4 is going to be Finding Nemo, which I used to be very scared of this film in the beginning of it. I absolutely hated the barracuda fish coming in and killing, and it always used to frighten me. Fun fact. Really love the adventure that Marlin goes on his journey to find Nemo. You meet Dory, you meet some sharks, you meet that little piranha fish with the light on his head, you meet some other fish, jellyfish, and of course the tank gang along, which is my favorite like characters in all of Finding Nemo. I love them. But I love how it parallels and splits the story into two, and how the different two stories really much intersect by the third act, and how wonderfully, again, beautiful that is. The way that Andrew Stanton, the director of this, was able to bring that all together makes this to be one of the most consistent and really overall entertaining Pixar films. It's also super quotable. I watched this earlier with my girlfriend, and she loves this film to pieces. It's probably her favorite Pixar film. She consistently just kept repeating line after line after line, and the fact that it keeps that in your memory, it's just wonderful. Coming down at my number 3 is going to be Toy Story 2. Now, God, this is one of the best action and adventure films ever. It's toys trying to go save Woody, who has been kidnapped by an evil toy collector. That's perfect. That's smart. The fact that this was almost a VOD film, a direct-to-video film, is insane to me. I love Toy Story 2 to pieces. I would watch this film every single day. I actually broke many VHSs from Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 1. And are you even shocked by that? Probably not. But I love Toy Story 2, and I think this is a movie that definitively keeps moving forward. It's my second favorite one, also because it's the first film I ever saw in theaters. I have a lot of nostalgia for the second one, and you know, some people crap on it, but I can't. I love all the moments. I love the elevator shaft scene. I love the fighting scene. I love the 2 different Buzz Lightyears. I love Woody finding out who his actual past was with Jessie, Stinky Pete, and even Bullseye. Even touching in on that, it also has one of the most satisfying scenes of when he's getting clean. Still, that's not even the biggest part about this. I just love this film to pieces, and I could watch it every single day. And coming down at my number 2 is going to be The Incredibles, which is incredible. This is probably my, you know, besides the Toy Story films, this is my most rewatched Pixar film. When I used to work at this this restaurant that had a kid room that you could consistently play movies, I would only play this. We had The Incredibles, we had one of the random Spider-Man films, Cars, and like a couple others that I didn't really care about. The original Spider-Man film I'd flip in and out, but I could only put that on at certain times. The Incredibles, though, constant rewatch every single day. I could watch that film literally 24/7 on that shift, and I would be completely entertained. I loved The Incredibles, and this is a film that consistently is just fantastic. The humor, the midlife crisis. This is more of a film for adults than it is for kids. 100%. The more that I've grown, the more that this film is like grown attached to me. It's just adorable. It's so great. And there's so many things into this film that just put a big smile on my face. I love the action. I love the family coming together. I love seeing all the different powers. That midlife crisis that Bob Parker really has in here is the strongest element in this film when it comes to a message. And really, again, that theme of rediscovery and that theme of what is my purpose is very prevalent through many different Pixar films, if not this one especially. Guys, coming down to my number 1, if you know me too well, you know exactly what it's gonna be, and that is Toy Story 1. This is a masterpiece. I mean, every film pretty much, I would say, you know, 11 and up are pretty much perfect. To excellent, to amazing, to some of the best films ever created, and Toy Story is that. I think this is probably the best script that they've ever written for a Toy Story film still. I think it's brilliant, I think it's clever, I think it's smart, and while the animation is a little bit iffy here and there, I do definitely think that they could, you know, needs definitely a touch-up. You can definitely tell it came from 1995, but it changed the animation forever. It changed how they handled this. 3D animation was the new norm a couple years later after this, but Toy Story changed that. No one thought you could do it, and you could, and it was brilliant. You know, look at this film in just a pure script-wise, and it's smart. Again, that theme of rediscovery is in there with Woody, but also bringing Buzz in, who is kind of, in a sense, the villain of this until Sid comes into play, and then they must work together. It's a short film. It's a short ride that consistently moves, and it's one that I just love watching every single day. Like, I used to watch this film every single day as a kid. Like, every single day, I embed this film into my mind. The quotes, the rewatchability, the quoting it throughout it just puts a smile on my face. I love all the side characters, all the little tiny detailed characters that you put in the background. I, in a sense, am the grown-up version of Andy, and I will always stand by that. I mean, I got a whole Toy Story collection up there with pretty much all the different toys that you could possibly even imagine. I just love talking Toy Story, and I love the very first Toy Story film to pieces. You know, my number 1 will always be a Toy Story film. It'll always flip back and forth between 1, 2, 3, and maybe even sometimes one day 4, because I love 4. But for right now, number 1 is my favorite Pixar film, my favorite Toy Story film as of today. I love Toy Story. I love Pixar, and I'm sure many of you guys do as well. So thank you so much for tuning into this ranking. This was a long one, in fact. I had a blast talking Pixar films with you. Can't wait to see your guys' ranking down below. And of course, until next time, Stay classy.